The National Association of Realtors, or NAR, put out an article last week on December 15th talking about how homeowners are still haunted by the 2008 crash, where property values plummeted and foreclosure spiked, and how there's 41% of Americans saying that they're still afraid of another crash in 2023. So let's go over it. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram, and if you have any specific questions or topics that you'd like me to cover, just leave a comment below. The chief economist for the NAR, Mr. Young, acknowledged that it's still a valid question and understands why people would be fearful. But does that mean everyone is correct? I would argue no. Not only was I a realtor back then and personally see the difference today, let me give you some facts to put your valid yet irrational fears to rest with 5 key points Mr. Young laid out. And technically, I've been saying the whole time. First, the labor market remains extremely strong. Back in 2008, there were some like 8 million job loss in a single year. 8 million. That's just crazy. But today, there are virtually none. But Ian, I know a bunch of people in mortgage and, tech getting fired. Okay, yeah, but the metric is talking about net job gains or losses. So although a bunch of people in tech and mortgage were laid off, there were just as many people getting hired in other industries like healthcare, leisure and hospitality, etc. If you want exact numbers, I can find you those industries that had a hiring spike. But the bottom line is the losses in the mortgage industry and tech industry weren't enough to offset the country to get us to a net job loss, let alone an 8 million net job loss. Second, there are less risky loans. I did my senior thesis on the fiduciary obligation of mortgage lenders back in the day before the Dodd-Frank Act came out. And let me tell you, it was shady to say the least. But now that's just not a thing. To be honest, you don't even see subprime loans anymore. As much as it's a pain in the ass to get pre-approved for a mortgage these days, those fail-safes are designed to protect you and ensure you don't bite off more than you can chew. Back in 2008, there were these option mortgages where they gave you 3 choices every month. One was a negative AM option, which was the lowest payment. One was for interest only, which was a little bit more expensive than negative AM. And one was for what a 30-year fixed rate payment should be. And was obviously the most expensive. Everyone picked the cheapest one, obviously, not knowing that they were paying less than the interest that was being charged and it was just getting added back onto the principal. And they also didn't realize that they were slowly adding to the principal and that there was a cap at the end. So we're not going to get into all that because all that's a thing in the past. You can't even get those anymore, and that's for good reason. If you don't know what the Dodd-Frank Act is, go look it up. I'll leave it in the description below. Third, Mr. Young reiterated the fact that there's an inventory shortage and we're underbuilding. There were 7.65 million homes being built annually before 2008. Now it's only 4.6 million. Basic economic principle of supply and demand, since supply is still low, it will buffer prices from crashing like it did back in 2008. Fourth, mortgage delinquency back in 2008 was at 10%. 1 out of 10 people had missed a mortgage payment. Right now, we're at a historic low, I think, of 3.6%. Now, you can attribute some of that back to the stricter lending laws, but if you remember back in 2008, getting qualified for a loan was ridiculously easy. I was a personal trainer back at the beginning of 2008 before I got into real estate, making like 50,000 a year or something along those lines. You know how much I got pre-approved for? A $900,000 loan. It's ridiculous. I would have never been able to pay that. And you can see how that could get someone in trouble. Thank the business gods I didn't bite on it, but I know plenty that did. But once again, it's not happening anymore. Lastly, we have super low foreclosure rates. NAR said that the foreclosure rates reached 4.6% during the housing crash, but today it's only 0.6%. And remember, this is nationally because I would be hard pressed to see a financial situation here in San Diego where someone would lose their home when we were having like 18% appreciation year over year. Just sell it. But back to 2008, it was literally crazy. When I first got into real estate, I didn't even know you could list a home for sale. Okay, I'm just kidding. But literally every listing was either a foreclosure or a short sale. And there were like 3 or 4 agents representing everyone, all the banks, I guess. Talk about distressed properties. Besides the fact that 3 or 4 agents had every single listing that they couldn't keep up with, people were literally getting kicked out of their homes. So a lot of them had holes in the walls, cords ripped out everywhere. It was just nuts. I was luckily fortunate enough not to have to experience a foreclosure, but many of my friends did and people I know did, and it was just a terrible time. But this is not like that. Not even close, not even remotely close. Yeah, the Fed is raising interest rates to avoid hyperinflation. I get it. And believe it or not, we don't want hyperinflation. Have you ever been to Thailand or somewhere that experienced hyperinflation where it's like 9 billion baht for a bowl of cereal? Yeah, we don't want that. And this isn't meant to be a lesson on economics. So let's just say that there would be severe consequences for our country as a whole if the Fed didn't make the decision to slowly slow down the economy to normal levels, sustainable levels. In summary, the point of this video was to reassure those of you old enough to remember the crash of 2008 that this is nothing like that. So don't let fear guide your decisions. If you're thinking about moving, upgrading, downsizing, getting another secondary home or whatever, reach out and we can have an honest conversation about what your options are. Don't let fear dictate your financial decisions. Instead, let numbers and analytics drive them. That's all I have for you. So like the video if you learned something, subscribe if you found any sort of value and want more videos like this, and most importantly, happy holidays.